You can eat well and exercise consistently, but if your sleep is off, then your focus, energy, and your performance can suffer. Today, we're talking about how to use sleep to enhance our performance. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. Welcome back to my 100-day walk to consistency. I'm so excited that you're here. We are on day number 68. Each day that you show up, each day that you put time in, you are building a better version of yourself. You are in the process of creating, putting a new puzzle, putting a new piece to the puzzle to build success. Hey, I'm glad that you're here. Let's go ahead. I'll see you on the walk. I remember my son when he was just a little kid, actually, very small child. Getting him to sleep was a big deal. And I think we probably never grow out this need to sometimes stay up because we think we're missing out on something. Um, Sleep is so important that your body is waiting for you to go to bed. When we go to sleep, there are a whole host of physical and emotional and psychological and hormonal things that happen that help our bodies to regenerate. You know, when they do studies, they tell me that if someone is not resting, then they will behave, their reaction time, their thought process, all of those will look like and sometimes feel like someone who is intoxicated. So sleep plays a huge role in what we do in our day and in our lives. And it sets us up for success if we do it well. So just like all the other things that we've learned, having good rest is very, very important for our success. And so it's just another piece of the puzzle. It's one of those keystone principles. In fact, there are often times when I ask people, what if you could do one thing that could improve your weight, help you with your metabolism, help you improve your blood sugar, get you emotionally better, and set you up for better success? Would you do it? And they're like, oh yeah, I'll do that. And I said, what if I told you it was free? That's even better. You know what that thing is? That thing is called sleep. And if we handle it well, then it is an enormous benefit to us because it gives us all of those things I just mentioned and so much more. So let's talk about it. How do we use sleep to enhance our performance? So why sleep? Why is sleep a foundation of high performance? Why is it a foundation for high performance? Well, there are several things. Number one, sleep isn't wasted time. It's your body's superpower. You know, we've talked about consistency being a superpower, right? Consistency is one of the superpower for success. And so sleep is a superpower for the body. Many people think that it is unproductive, it's wasted. But in reality, when we don't sleep well, our productivity can actually decrease and can actually go down. It's when your body performs those maintenance functions that it needs, and most of those things will happen during sleep. When you sleep, number one, your brain processes and stores information. Yeah. Have you ever been poorly rested and found it difficult to remember things? Yeah? Because your brain is actually processing much of that during the time when you're sleeping. And if you're not rested, then that is compromised. And we don't want to compromise that part of our body and that part of our day. It's essential for learning and focusing. I can't tell you the number of times that I've been poring over something on a project or something I'm working on, some concept, some program, and I just can't seem to get it. And I'll go to sleep, and sometimes I don't even wake up in the morning. Like, I wake up in a couple of hours, and that the information comes to my mind, right? The solution seems like it's there. So my brain was able to take that information and process it and put it together and make connections where I couldn't do that during the time when I was not resting or was not well rested, right? So it is part of the brain. The other thing that happens when we sleep is the body is able to, and I'm walking by a street right here. That's some cars that are coming by. Your muscles and tissues repair and they grow. So during sleep, when everything is rested, then the body is able to provide those restorative, those productive, those maintenance functions on our muscles and the rest of our body that it doesn't do when we are not rested. The other thing is the body regulates your hormones that regulate our mood and our stress and our hunger. People who are not well rested, I'm gonna walk up here because I've been waiting for these cars to go by. People who are not well rested put on weight. One, because they seem to be hungrier. That's because lack of sleep dysregulates our hunger hormones, hunger and satiety hormones. When we are not well rested, our cortisol levels will go up, and we're less capable of dealing with stresses. So our problem-solving ability, our resilience goes down. And when those go down, then we set ourselves up for difficulty because everything seems to be just increased stressful event. But when we get good rest, then those things we're able to handle them. We're able to handle them better. Your body regulates, for men, your body will produce testosterone during the time when you're sleeping. I know that's a big one for us, right? So think about this. If we're not rested, testosterone levels go down, and testosterone, we've learned, is not just a sex hormone. It is that, but it has implications for energy, for muscle mass, and so many other things that go on in the male body. So when you're not rested, all of those things are at risk, and all of those things will suffer. When we are rested, not just our mind and our muscles and our hormones, but we also already mentioned that our body is able to repair itself in a better way when we are rested. Coming up on the road here. Let's see. Wait for these guys to go by. So resting is very important. Good sleep isn't just about feeling rested, right? So we think that getting good sleep is all just about, okay, so that we can rest. And that is important because feeling restored is a huge deal. If you don't feel restored, I think I'll go down this way. If you don't feel restored, then you start the day almost at a deficit, right? Because your body, sometimes it's just that you don't feel well. It's not that you can pinpoint something that's wrong, but you just don't feel well. And that has to do partially with this idea of not being as resilient. So things just seem to be bothering you. They seem to bothering you the more. You're not as resilient. You don't have all the capacity that you need for problem solving. And you just feel, right? That's for lack of a better word. But it's about performing your best in every area of your life. And that happens when we do a good job of getting good rest. All right, so how does lack of sleep affect your health and your consistency, right? Because after all, that's what we're talking about. How do we maintain consistency and maintain the benefit of all these keystone principles so that we can be successful? So have you ever felt your brain like it's in a fog, like you're walking through a tunnel, like you're fuzzy headed, right? That could be that you're sleep deprived. So it's not that you couldn't solve that problem or that you couldn't reason through or you didn't understand what was going on, is that you might be sleep deprived. And so that is one of the things that can happen when we are not getting good rest, right? So it reduces our focus and it reduces our cognitive performance. Reduces our focus and reduces our cognitive performance. So the impact is that we have poor decision making. So when you're rested, don't make major decisions. When you're not well rested, I say when you're rested. Yeah, when you're not well rested, not the time to be making major decisions, right? Because your decision making at that point is compromised. It is not at its best, and it's not that you can't make decisions, and you could make some good decisions. But how much better would those decisions be if you were rested? The next thing is it increases your forgetfulness, as we mentioned before. Because in sleep, your body will incorporate a lot of the things that we learn and begin to put them together, make connections. And if we're not rested, then our memory will suffer. And you can't remember those things. And then you have lack of motivation to stay consistent because you just want to get through, right? You just want to get through this day. You just want to get through that. You can't put another thing on your list. If somebody else asks me to do one more thing, if I have to stay up a little bit longer, if I have to do one more thing, I just can't do it because I am not well rested. I'm exhausted. So it will affect our focus and it will affect our cognitive performance, right? The next thing is it increases stress and emotional balance. It increases stress and emotional imbalance. I said balance. Emotional imbalance. So sleep directly regulates your stress response. Directly. When you sleep well, your stress response is better, is more adaptive. When you don't sleep well, it's maladaptive. You have higher cortisol, higher epinephrine, higher all the stress hormones, right? Can peak more. Without enough sleep, your body stays in a heightened state of stress. So we already live in a society where we are living in almost tonic stress. What does that mean? That means that we're always in the process, always feeling like, always having that anxiety, like we are in danger or something is about to happen. And so we continue to live in that space. And when we don't get good sleep, that also enhances that. So that feeling gets even worse. And the body responds to that by producing more stress hormones, and we feel more antsy, feel more jittery, feel more uncertain, unsettled. It's almost like those butterflies that you get in your stomach when you're on a roller coaster, right? Or a Ferris wheel when you're going down the other side. That's what it's like when we're not well rested. Okay, so it impacts all of that. So you have more anxiety, you feel more irritable, you're less able to tolerate. There are things that you, some people say, well, maybe that's a good thing. There are things that you will tolerate when you're rested that just get under your skin when you're not. You're like, if you do that one more time, If I see that one more time, if I hear that one more time, I'm just gonna, right, lose it. And that can occur if we're not getting good rest. It also makes it less possible to handle challenges. So you normally jump in there and you're able to get through, you're able to problem solve, you're able to maneuver. But when you're not well rested, then those challenges seem like mountains rather than molehills. Right? So being able to get good rest, once again, not only keeps you feeling good, but it also enhances so many of the abilities that would normally that we normally use throughout our lives, right, for success. And if we're not getting good rest, then all of those can suffer. And then we have a higher likelihood of quitting when things get hard, when we're not well rested. Which is why I just said that we don't want to make major decisions when we're not rested, when we're poorly rested, when we didn't get enough sleep. That's not the time to make major decisions about really anything, okay? So make sure that you are getting good rest and making sure that you are using other times to make those decisions. Or you may, when you finally get some rest, you're like, oh my goodness, why did I do that? Why did I say that? How did I get into this space? And it's because you weren't rested at the time that you made that decision. And then it decreases your physical recovery and energy. If you're training hard, even if you're not training hard, when you're not rested, then your recovery time increases. Your body is not as resilient. You know, if you're lifting, for example, right, you're getting those muscle fibers that are tearing, the muscle fibers that when you lift something heavier, and it takes a certain amount of time for that recovery to happen. And if you are not rested, then that recovery time is longer. And so you could potentially hurt yourself and cause damage that is hard to repair or may never repair, right? Because you're essentially causing that muscle to be weaker. So often I know some people who are just so excited, right? They're excited because they're getting up and they're going out and they're in the gym and they're tired. They're fatigued. They're not getting good rest. But they think that because they're in the gym, then that is better than getting rest. And the answer is not at all. You can do a better job in the gym. You can get stronger. You can get more toned. You can get more fit if you get good rest. In addition to, right? So I'm not saying get rest instead of going to the gym. But in addition to going to the gym, you will be more, you can do better. And then also, when we don't get good rest, it weakens our immune system and causes higher risk of illness. Now, let's talk about some of the illnesses first. We've just said that when we don't get good rest, then our stress level goes up. Stress level will go up. We also have dysregulation of our satiety and hunger hormones. Those have direct implications for our food and what we eat and the choices that we make. Those have direct implications for our weight. Our weight and our food have direct implications for the blood sugar. Blood sugar has direct implications for our insulin. And then once we spike insulin, then insulin causes so many downstream problems: fatty liver, hypertension, increased risk for coronary artery disease, once again, obesity, metabolic syndrome, polycystic ovarian syndrome, increased risk of cancer, right? All of that comes because of poor sleep, because our ability to regulate those things are compromised. And then our immune system is weakened. Remember, we said that during sleep, our body will regenerate, our body will recover, our body will repair. And so if we're not recovering, if we're not repairing, then our body, all the cells, it's not just the muscles, right? All the cells in our body are at risk. And one of the most important cells and systems in our body is the immune system. So if those cells are weakened, right, then it's easier for us to catch a cold. It's easier for us to pick up an infection. And think about the other things that are going on, right? So your body each day kills, destroys, gets rid of thousands, millions of cancer cells or precancerous cells. And we don't even know. But if we compromise the system that's responsible for doing that, then those cells no longer get destroyed at the same rate. And so the likelihood that those cells can proliferate, and I'm going to move over to the other side of the road, the likelihood that those cells can proliferate and lead to cancer increases simply because we didn't rest, right? So rest, we think, is just, oh yeah, I'm gonna lay down and get some sleep, but it has significant implications for the entire body. And you want to make sure that you're doing the best job you possibly can to get the rest that you need. Without rest, you're more likely to get sick. You're more likely to develop other diseases, as we mentioned, like diabetes, hypertension, metabolic syndrome, at risk for cancers, at risk for other immune system diseases. Okay? So how do we optimize? Go down there. How do we optimize our sleep for maximal performance? And one of the concepts to learn about sleep is, and I guess I shouldn't say just about sleep. One of the things that I hope you are learning is that every area of our lives, we need systems. We could just let it go. We can just, okay, this is going to happen like it's going to happen. But if we have systems, then those systems are able to help us automate what we need to do. So there's no longer left to a whim. It's no longer left to circumstance or how we feel, right? It's already built into what we're going to do. And so this concept of sleep hygiene is very important, because that means that there are certain things that we do, certain things that we put in place that will set us up for the best possibility of success because they're already there. We don't have to recreate it each time. We don't have to think about it each time. It's already there and it's already ready to go. Right? So as we talk about the next couple of sections, that's what I want you to remember. What we're doing is we're putting in place systems to help us be successful. Okay? So sleep hygiene says that there's a group of things that are optimal for sleep. And these aren't just random things that we're going to just pick out of the air. These are things that have been studied. These are things that have been seen to give the greatest benefit in terms of successful rest. And so we're going to see how we can incorporate them into ourselves, right? So number one is you want to set a consistent time for going to bed. Right? Notice I didn't even start talking about how much sleep you should get and all that. No, the first thing is we got to set a consistent time, because the body gets used to what we do. And if we do a good job of putting these things in place, then our ability to be successful is automated. And so the body will remind you, hey, we said that we're going to bed at 9 o'clock, at 9:30, at 10 o'clock, whatever the time is. And when that time comes, the body begins reminding us, like, hey, it's time for us to do this. It's time for us to go, right? Otherwise, it's always random. And there are things that are going to come up at the end of your day that will want to conspire against you to keep you up if you're not careful, right? And so when you get a consistent time, the body will begin winding down during those times. and getting ready for you to go to bed. Okay? You want to aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep. I know people are like, oh man, that's a long time. Well, that's what the body needs. And we're talking about restful, restorative sleep. Now you can lay in the bed and not in and not out, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting in the bed and having 7 continuous hours of restorative sleep. That is what has been shown to be the best. Now, I know people, like as a matter of fact, I am one of those people, right, that claim and say they could function in 4 hours. Like I can go in 4 hours. In fact, when I was in residency, I went on less than that. When I was in fellowship, well, not so much, because fellowship was much better. But in residency, we came in at 7 o'clock in the morning, and our call was the entire 24 hours, right, till 7 the next morning. And then we can leave until, I think it was 1 o'clock that afternoon. So we're talking now at 24 plus 6, right, that's 31 hours. And then we would go to clinic, right? And we didn't leave clinic until another 4 hours later. So we're talking about 36 hours, I think was what the maximum was, that we didn't go to sleep. So 0, right? And even as I've gotten into my personal life away from training, I found that I would go for hours and hours, right? Where I was spending, 4 hours here, 3 hours there. In fact, when I was on my way out for this walk today, I was telling one of my team members what I was going to be talking about. And she said to me, are you going to tell them that you're still working on this? So there it is, right? Because we think that the more time we spend actually doing stuff, the better it is. But we don't realize that at some point, I think it's the Starling law, says at some point you get to the point where you're actually subtracting benefit. Your efficiency goes down if you keep pushing, okay? So 7 to 9 hours. Number 2, create a wind down routine. Often I'll say to people, they'll say, oh, I'm not getting good rest. I said, what time do you go to bed? They say 8 o'clock. I said, well, if you go to bed at 8 o'clock, what time do you wake up? I said, well, I don't get up until 6 o'clock the next morning, or 5 o'clock, whatever it is. They're getting the number of hours theoretically. And I'll say to them, okay, well, when you get in bed, how long does it take you to go to sleep? I said, a couple of hours. So what are you doing? What's your wind down routine? They say, well, I just watch my phone until I get ready to go to sleep, until I fall asleep. And so the wind down routine is, what do we do to create the best possibility of going to sleep and staying asleep so that we get restorative sleep. So give your brain a signal. This is the wind down routine. It gives your brain a signal that it's time to sleep. So we already said that we're going to go to sleep at a particular time. Okay? So brain already knows that. And then we start putting things in place. Okay, this is what I do before I go to bed, before I go to sleep. And the body starts to do that. So dim the lights, for instance, an hour before you go to bed. Cut off your phone, right? Turn off the alarm. Don't be scrolling on the phone, right? Don't spend time in bed, laying in bed, and going through your phone, answering emails, all of those things, okay? So there is benefit to disconnecting from all the things that we do prior to going to sleep, so that our body gets used to that. You can read or listen to calm music. Those are good things. Don't read any crazy stuff, right? Right? Some nice, I was going to say quiet books, because books aren't quiet. All books are quiet. Okay? Stretch. Do some deep breathing. Right? What you're doing is you are signaling to the body that this is what we do. This is how we function. This is how we roll when we're going to sleep. And so when you do that, then the body begins to expect that. Then limit screen time before bed. Oh, yeah, this is a big one. Blue light is one of those things that has been shown to disrupt sleep, okay? The hormone that help you sleep is called melatonin, and blue light dysregulates melatonin. This regulates melatonin, and so it causes changes in your melatonin, and so that then causes difficulty in your ability to get to sleep and to stay asleep. Ooh. So try to turn blue light off, right, the screen time. Try to do that about 30 minutes to an hour before you go to bed. This will be very beneficial in helping you with your sleep routine. And then keep your sleep environment good and dark. Some people say, well, they got a TV and they let the TV play until they fall asleep. Well, the TV is on. TV is watching them, essentially. But that's not a good thing, right? Your body sleeps best in a dim room, right? So there's not a whole lot of light coming in. Some people will use those masks. Those are great things for blocking out light. Also, the body, and you guys see my allergies so there's a lot of pollen in this area. So your body sleeps best when your room is cool. Now, sometimes I take exception to this one because I like my room to be warm. But yeah, body sleeps best in temperatures between 65 and 70. Okay, so this is the best practices. You can use blackout curtains, turn on the fan while you're there, while you're in bed, and then watch what you eat or drink before you get into bed. Watch what you eat or drink before you get into bed. All of those things that we eat that will stimulate our GI system before we go to bed, all of the hormones that are dysregulated because of the food that we eat. You want to avoid caffeine before you go to bed. You want to avoid energy drinks. You want to avoid heavy meals because otherwise the body is processing that all night. All these things interfere with your sleep. So no caffeine. Try to do no caffeine by 2 o'clock the day before or the day of sleep. Now people will say, well, I can't function without my caffeine. Then there is another problem going on, right? So something else that we need to address. And then we want to maintain as little stress as possible before we get to bed. That's not the time to have a huge meeting and then hop right into bed, okay? You want to minimize that if you can. If your mind is racing, try journaling, deep breathing, some other meditation or other stress relievers. Let me just drop something there so that you can be in the best position to get your rest. Okay? Awesome. All right. Well, we can't ever go without having a challenge, right? So here's our challenge. You ready? Of course, you have your journal that you're going to be working on, and you've pulled it out, and you are now going to be writing. So number one, you want to evaluate your current sleep habits. Okay? How many hours of sleep do you get currently? How are you getting? What's one thing that disrupts your sleep currently? Right? Go ahead and write that in the journal. Put it there so that you can see that. Number two, choose one sleep improvement strategy that we've talked about. Is it going to be getting a consistent time? Is it going to be making the room dark? Is it going to be turning on a fan or getting rid of your phone 30 minutes to an hour before you go to bed? Is it going to be that you are not going to eat a big meal before you get in bed? All of those things, those are strategies. So which one are you going to be using, right, to implement? Will you go ahead earlier, temperature, any of those? Go ahead and write those down. And then track your sleep for the next 7 days. Write down the time you went to bed. Write down those things, right? So the time, the thing that you decided you're going to do, what sleep benefit, what sleep hygiene principle you're going to use, and then how you feel. How many hours did you get? We went to bed I did this, I got this many hours, and begin. What I need to do is perhaps give you guys, and you can go on the internet and they can give you a sleep scale. This is a how am I sleeping scale. And basically what you're doing is you're tracking how you feel based on the number of hours of sleep that you get. So go through this process, track it, and then drop us a note to let us know how you're doing and keep track of what's going on. Does that make sense? I was going to say a whole lot of other stuff, so I got some folks passing by. So that is sleep, and sleep hygiene says that we can actually do things to clean our environment and get our sleep better. So sleep isn't just about rest. It's about recovery, it's about focus, and it's about performance. If you want to be successful, if you want to be consistent, if you want to improve, then the benefit of sleep is huge. So, to answer the question, if I could give you something that would improve your outlook, make you more resilient, improve your blood sugars, help you to lose weight, help you to fight off infection, help you to improve your insulin resistance, help you to get better blood sugars, and it was free, would you take it? I'm glad you would, because the answer is sleep. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. I'm glad that you're here for another episode of my 100-day walk to consistency. I'm glad you joined us. Remember, I want to make sure that you're doing the challenges, that you're getting in there and doing all the things that we've been talking about. Consistency is your superpower, so make sure that you are doing what you need to do to be consistent and to be successful. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow on another walk. We'll see you for day number 69. I'll see you on the walk.